which is very important. He then goes on to his third fact. The New Testament books are unique because they are apostolic books. He goes on and says Jesus had commissioned his apostles so that they might be with him and he might send them out to preach and have authority. Mark 3:14-15. And so basically he's saying that the early church had an understanding that the apostles had authority. In fact, he says, the church's overt dependence on apostolic writings is precisely why we see a proliferation of apocryphal books in the 2nd century and later that were named after the apostles. So that's a very important fact, to know that we can trace the New Testament as authoritative because they come from the apostles or connected to the apostles in some way. The fourth fact is that the New Testament writers quote other New Testament writers. So we have 2 Peter 3:2, which quotes Paul, and 1 Timothy 5:18, which is quoting Luke. And what that tells you is that there was already an acceptance of what was authoritative, because they're quoting even New Testament books. The fifth fact, which Kruger points out, is the 4 Gospels were well established. When it comes to the basic facts which we live, and 4 principal winds, and the cherubim too were 4-faced. So even early on there was a sense that the 4 Gospels were authoritative. Fact number 6, the Moratorium fragment lists 22 of the 27 New Testament books. He writes, of course, it should be acknowledged that the Moratorium canon also seemed to affirm the Apocalypse of Peter. However, the author of the fragment immediately expresses that some have hesitation about this book. Those hesitations eventually won out, and the Apocalypse of Peter was never widely affirmed by the early church and never earned a final spot in the canon. The fact that there was some disagreement during this time period over a few peripheral books should not surprise us. It took some time for the issue of the canon to be settled. This occasional agreement, however, should not keep us from observing the larger and broader unity that early Christians shared regarding the core of the New Testament books. So the Moratorium fragment is basically saying very early on that out of the 27 books, 22